Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to the show.
And now, your hosts of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the For Frequency's Sake Tag Team Champions of the World, the Wizard CZ, and never wrong, Nick Bull.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting edition of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the podcast by the fan, for the fan. Of course, we are powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. I want to thank them before we get things started here. Wouldn't be able to do it without those guys' support, and we are greatly appreciated here, not only on this show, Card Subject to Change, but also on the For Frequency's Sake network. Let's get back to the fun stuff. Hey, I'm never wrong, Nick Bull. You found us. Yes, I hear you. I feel you. I'm going through that WrestleMania hangover too, and the Raw After Mania Night hangover as well. We're going to process it. We're going to go through this together. So settle in. It's going to be like a group therapy session, I think. Maybe that's what this is going to turn into. We'll find out soon. That man you heard chuckling, that is my tag team partner. He is one half of the For Frequency's Sake Tag Team Champions. He is the baseline that makes this show go. He is the one. He is the only. He is the Wizard CZ. Wiz, how you doing, bud?
I'll be honest, I'm a little tired, but that's because of this past weekend. This was a long one. I'm glad that I was off work. I go back tomorrow, so back to the reality of the real world. But
so when I'm celebrating that it's Wednesday, it's in reality your Monday.
Yes.
Okay. I'll make sure to let you know about that tomorrow in some way, shape, or form.
Just jab it in there real good. Nick, before we get into what we're here to talk about, absolutely. I think we need to just mention in about a week and a half, May 3rd, we will be at the Sandra Lee Memorial Car Show. They are still looking for entries. They're trying to get 100 cars for the show, and wrestlers are going to be there. We're going to see Buff Bagwell, the Headbangers, and Lash LaRue. And the wrestlers are picking the best car, and the winner of their pick gets this gorgeous title belt you see on the screen. And if you look over on the right side of the screen there, you see a little pretty logo that says Card Subject to Change. I love it.
I'll tell you what, we may not have made the big time yet, but there have been a couple breakthroughs where I've said, you know what, we're kind of getting some traction and we're making some ground here. One, when you become a side plate on a championship belt, that's pretty cool. Okay. However this podcast goes on long for and however it ends, I want that to be remembered. Hey, we were put on a side plate, but we're also on a ring apron as well. And that's pretty freaking cool, especially since we're a wrestling podcast. Why not? So, that was a perfect segue for you, CZ.
It really was. You hit the nail on the head there. We are joined tonight by our guest commentator, the co-founder of Absolute Pro Wrestling. Let's bring him in, Mr. Jason Prentice. Prentice, how you doing, buddy?
I'm sorry, I just we just needed a drink after the last 3 days. It's been a long weekend. And I need to drink about it.
He really took this therapy session to heart. He's got on like the Card Subject to Change name tag. He had Card Subject to Change on the Solo Cup. Dude, this is great. Jason, so glad to have you with us. I think we're going to get through this together.
I hope we can. It was a rough weekend in many avenues, both good and bad. But it was as the kids say, it was a Wrestlemania, you know.
Indeed. Jason, I'm just going to start here because we've already talked about night one with our good friend Joe Winkle. I just want to get your overall thoughts on night one of WrestleMania before we get into talking about night two and the Raw after.
So night one, I'm surrounded by family and friends. We're watching all this. And I felt like night one was very okay. And when I say that, that is an underwhelming okay. I felt like half the card could have stayed off the show. I felt like the other half, all right, whatever. There was probably 4 matches that really delivered, and there was 3 that just, what are we doing? We're putting something out there to put something out there. I thought that the most underwhelming match, which needed to be one of the more exciting matches, was Tiffany and Charlotte. They needed to deliver, and neither one of them did. And people will say, Charlotte did her best to help the girl. No, they both underperformed, under-delivered, in my opinion. And guess what? They got a fat check, and my fat ass is talking about it. So who's the big winner at the end of the weekend? Still those 2. Yeah. So kudos to them. But from my perspective, I thought that was the most underwhelming match, night one, and maybe of the whole weekend. Maybe. But the triple threat, the men's main event, unbelievable, emotional roller coaster. If it delivered where it needed to deliver. I thought it was a very good main event for the first night. It didn't need to go too insane and off the rails, and I don't think it did. I think it was just the right amount of controversy, just the right amount of, false finishes and kickouts, all this stuff that people look forward to with some of this stuff. I thought that the Roman, Punk, and Seth match, I thought that was the best match, and the best match within the main event, as it should be. So, kudos to those guys.
Yeah, I felt coming off night one, man, I hope night two's better.
Yeah.
It has the capabilities of it. It had a pretty good card. Not really any throwaway matches, maybe one throwaway match on there that I could live without. So, I was optimistic coming off that main event, which I thought was brilliant, by the way, and which I thought was the best WrestleMania match of the 2 nights, if you want to combine them. I thought that was the best match as well. But very well done. It wasn't too over the top with the false finishes. And we've got new career paths for each of the 3 guys. Each of the 3 guys are now in a different mode of character. And that's what this show is for. It's for payoffs, and it's for new beginnings. When you weave in the Raw After Mania and the SmackDown After Mania, which we can talk about here in a little bit. But I really love the main event from night one. How are you feeling, Jason, going into night 2, after coming off a pretty good main event? I mean, a really, really good main event. I think when people say 41 from now on, they're going to go back to this.
So I thought that going into night 2, I'm like, well, night 2's got to deliver. It's got to be, all purposes, has to be better than night 1, which is the goal anyways. You would think, you would feel it has to carry the momentum, but I felt like the statement, the sentence saying it should be better than night 1 is because it was lackluster. Night 1 was lackluster in so many avenues. I thought that last year, really the last 2 years, were strong with a good showing on night 1 for 40 and 439. But also, the other side of it, and we talked a little bit about this, myself and shout out Zach Takis. We talked a little bit about it on his podcast, where the story of WrestleMania 39 and WrestleMania 40, you're talking about Cody's journey, and you're looking at some of the players on the card and saying, oh my gosh, what a story here, what a story there. And, obviously The Rock being involved last year is a big deal. And the hype and the build to this year was lackluster in comparison. But it's hard to top what they did last year, and you're going to have this happen. If you could top last year, good on you. They had a shot to do it, even with a low build, and that's what I was telling people. I said, it's good that they had a lackluster build, only if they pay it off with a phenomenal, undeniable show. And I thought that night one failed in so many of those spots, and it wasn't a good start to the weekend. It had its peaks, and it should. It's Wrestlemania. It should have those moments where you say, "Damn, that was a good match." You can have good matches. Every pay-per-view has this happen, guys. Every pay-per-view has, "Damn, that was a good match." Some pay-per-views, though, have, "Damn, that was a good match. The rest of the show is shit." That's just, it happens. And I thought that was night one. Night one had 3 or 4, hey, hell yeah, this is worth 9 hours of my time. And then they had 3 matches that were just like, why are we doing this? I would have rather seen the Andre the Giant Battle Royal on that show.
Yes, sir.
Because Andrade and Carmelo at the end there, awesome to see. The drama throughout the whole thing, awesome to see. Could have done without other things. Even Ray, Phoenix and Gable, like, not Chad Gable, but even that match, like, you could have done without it. It was fine though. I'd say, okay, fine, yeah, cool, great. We get to see Phoenix make his Mania debut. That was cool, great. Could have done without it. It was fine. That was on the show. And then you get some of these other matches. It's like, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? I get the concept of a 2-night Mania, but this is part of the problem. Is that you get some of these matches that are on there that you're just like, man, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? It just.
I mean, they were obviously banking on their past successes because I really loved 39. 38 was decent. 39 was better. 40 is 40. So they were probably just betting on that. When was the last time you felt like this after a night one Mania, or maybe after a Mania? I mean, we haven't even talked about night 2 yet, which we're going to get into. But when was the last time you felt like this after a night one, or maybe after a Mania? Because I heard
because I mean,
I heard a wise tale online that said every 7 years expect a bad.
Yeah, Shank had brought that up last week, and I'm just like, yeah, I can see it. I mean, I think the last time for me as a fan watching it, night one's honestly, I think this is probably, in my opinion, the first night one that was just lackluster. I mean, even the year after, they had the COVID year, night one, that was with the Boneyard match, but everything before that, I mean, can you be critical of it? Sure. But I mean, they're in the freaking PC.
They get a free pass for COVID.
Yeah, like you have to as a fan. You can't be like
36 is off the boards for
that. But even then, like I think that night you had New Day, not even New Day. It was a triple threat tag, but it wasn't a tag. It had a triple threat match with Uso against, one of the Usos against Kofi against Miz, and even that, that whole show was still better than Saturday night. I thought. I honestly believe it. I mean, it's just, but then you had Sasha and Bianca the year after in Tampa Bay. I didn't think that was a bad show. I think this was probably the first time in the double nights that it felt lackluster, or just that it was missing. You had a great cherry on top, but if you have a cherry on top of a shit sandwich, it's still a shit sandwich. It doesn't matter. It unfortunately. So I think the last time, though, I was disappointed in a Mania, but in the moment, it's cool, and you're like, oh, this is great. 27, Rock, as the host and everything,
Miz Cena.
Miz. I was a huge Miz fan at that point. Taker, I'm a huge Taker fan. You guys have seen the wall. Hey, watching it, cool. And then you look back at it. Okay, yeah, Punk and Orton was awesome to watch. Triple H and Taker was awesome to watch. That main event, Cena and Miz, was the shits. Was the drizzling shits. And that's how that felt night one for me this year, honestly. Unfortunately.
No, absolutely. And, for me, you mentioned Charlotte and Tiffany, which I can't disagree with that. But for me, what really the match that I would pull first would have been the tag match between the Viking Bikers and the New Day. I would have switched that for the triple threat TLC match that's coming up on Friday.
I couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe that they. Hey, we'll put the. I mean, you need something. I get it. I get the argument of why and why not. Last year you did the ladder. How many times can you do these repetitive multi-man tags? So I'm in favor of them not doing it. At the same time, DIY and Motor City Machine Guns, that is probably going to be a better match. No offense. Than the New Day and the Viking Raiders, the Biker Raiders, the Viking guys, the Viking Bikers. Like, even the New Day didn't know what the hell to call them on the press conference Friday.
Right.
Like they could have switched those two matches out. They could have done New Day and Viking Raiders on Monday, and still got the same outcome, still got the same effect, and still got the same everything to it. Especially, obviously, knowing what happens with the New Day on Monday. Like, I know you guys are saving that for a little bit, but they could have switched those two matches out. Could have been that, should have been that, but unfortunately, we got what we got. But yeah, the tag was disappointing. The women's match, I was talking about last week, where everyone's talking about Charlotte and Tiffany. And you're watching this whole thing go down, and were those real feelings, and was it this, and was that? They needed to deliver, because if they didn't, which they didn't, now all the chatter online of the people that are saying, this is just a shit feud with no control on either side, and just all the criticism becomes validated if you have a poor performance. They had a poor performance, unfortunately. Two very good performers. I think some people are now cold on Tiffany, and they're like, well, Charlotte's Charlotte. Even Bayley says she's not on her level. Like, people are cold on her, but they give her a pass because they both had an underwhelming match. It doesn't matter how many years you're in the business. They both had a very underwhelming performance. It validated a lot of the criticisms going into the feud, into that whole show. So unfortunately for them, they got to live with that. A waste of Mania debut for Tiffany, waste of Mania for Charlotte. It's unfortunate for both of them.
Well, what is fortunate is we are done talking night one. We are going to be onward and hopefully upward to night two. I was excited for night two. We knew that the women's triple threat was going to kick off the show. And not only did it kick off the show, I just went back and watched it again last night. It may have stolen the show.
Yes.
May have stolen the show.
Yes.
And it should have. It should have. You got the three best. I think these are the three best women in wrestling today.
Mm-hmm. So
you could argue Bayley, okay. You could argue a couple others, but I think for the most part, if you polled 100 people, the majority would say, yeah, those are probably the top three wrestlers in wrestling, female wrestlers in wrestling today.
So what I will say is that women's triple threat match got me hopeful. It made me listen. I pulled out the good book, and I said, praise you, praise be, happy Easter, let's eat. And we were fed some delicious, good grub on Sunday night to start off Mania. It was awesome. It was killer. It was everything it needed to be. And I thought that even that feud, like, it got proper attention on screen. It got criticism from people. Why is Rhea in the match? And then the weird hate on Bianca, which I get, but I don't get. I think it's just I think a lot of people assumed she was going to be the person that took out Jade.
Yep.
And so when they're like, nope, it's Naomi, people are like, yeah, but it's her. And people just can't get over that shit for whatever reason. And so we hate her now. We hate her. We're booing her because we can. And to the people online that want to make that more than what it is and say, no, that's not why they're booing, don't read into that bullshit. They're booing her for absolutely no reason other than they didn't get their way. Fans didn't get their way with what they wanted from Bianca and from more creative than Bianca. And then now this is how they respond. And that's why I love Triple H's comments over the weekend. And I love how he addressed critics and fans alike. And to talents that don't like that, and to fans that don't like that, well, that's why he's getting paid the money he's getting paid, and you're getting the money that you're getting paid. And again, my fat ass is getting none of that money, and I'm talking about it on the Card Subject to Change podcast. But
with two other guys that aren't getting that money.
That's why we drink about it. But, the women's triple threat, amazing from start to finish. It just took you on a ride. It took you on a journey it needed to. And that got me hopeful that night 2 was just going to punch it down everybody's throat and say, hey, yeah, this is why we're on this night. Y'all do whatever bullshit you do there. We got you. Don't worry about it. It had to deliver. Hands down delivered.
And coming out of this, I think based on how the feud was built, I know people wanted Bianca to win. People wanted Rhea to win. I think the right person came away with the title. I think it was well put together. And the fact that Io is still holding the championship after being looked at as an afterthought by the other two competitors in this build, that was a feel-good moment for me. That was awesome.
Yeah. That's how they built it. I think if anybody thought that Rio was taking the title or Bianca was taking the title, good. They should think that to be surprised by the end with Io. I predicted Io was going to win. She won it. It was awesome. And it just validates her further. Bianca can eat a loss, Rhea can eat a loss, and they could still be the legit badasses that they are. Io can win, and now she's on that mega level even more. Because let's be honest, she is a top star, but compared to Bianca, compared to Rhea, people they're not placing her top 5 even. But I think with this, hey, you put her in a position to where now you can be. If they let her run with the ball for a little while. She had a run last year going into Mania 40 against Bayley, but this is different. It needs to be different. It needs to be special. They need to let her run with it for even further. She's had the belt, I believe, since early March. Let her run with it. Let her go into SummerSlam as champ. Let her have runs against people like Julia. Let her have runs against hopefully a returning Asuka. Let her have runs against all these people. Nia Jax even. Yes, I said Nia. I know people are going to hate that one, but listen, people weren't getting heat like Nia was getting heat last year. There's a reason why she worked. The reason why people liked that Tiffany took it off her. You hated to see her. You hated her as champ. She did her job. But so I think Io, them teasing her against Nia and Nia even being a threat to the title is just going to piss people off. Get your money out of that too. So I think there's a lot of money to be made with Io as champion, and Rhea doesn't need the belt. Doesn't need it at all. That's why you see Becky. That's why you see Becky, where she's at, and that's why you see all these players where they're moving right now. Is because you can interchange people. The company has a great opportunity to do what so many promotions and other places rarely get a shot to do, and that's, hey, we have 20, 30 top stars, and we can place them anywhere we want right now. This is where we need you. And they can elevate, and that's all it's going to do. It's not going to be looked down on. It's just, that's how it was in the 80s. The IC title was not looked at as, it's subpar. No, it's Brett is carrying that sumbitch, kicking ass, doing his thing. Obviously, more 90s, but like just 80s and 90s with these guys, Steamboat, Savage, and then Sean, your Bretts, guys that are able to work on the mid-card but still be attractive enough of a name and still be a star. And obviously now this decade, this century, this whatever, with this landscape of WWE, you have tons of talent with Rhea Io, and Bianca. They can do anything, and it's still going to be one of the top things on the show with or without a title.
Yeah, I was just thinking while you were explaining things there, it triggered something with me. It's like, they have made Bianca and Rhea big enough stars, and they've become stars. Well, I mean, I'm not saying it's just WWE. It's them also getting the character over. Like, Bianca and Rhea don't need the belts. They can go out there and have a feud with somebody, and people are still going to watch. As Io, I think people don't appreciate Io enough, man. She's special. She really is.
Yeah.
And them giving her this win on that platform, maybe a little bit longer title run against, a run of opponents, is going to solidify her even more. But I think it's a testament to the talent and the depth that the WWE women's roster has, where Bianca and Rhea are your two biggest female stars right now.
Yep.
You can argue Becky Lynch as well with her coming back. And they don't have titles. Becky doesn't anymore, but they don't have titles.
Spoiler.
Right.
It's such a quick spoiler too,
It's like the old 1, 2, 3 kid Bob Holly title reign. They wanted a Rumble and then lost it the next night on Monday.
Yeah. By the way, do you like my Becky figure? I just found it in the box. My Becky Lynch figure. I found this when I watched her when she was in black and white. It was awesome. Just gonna put Becky right here. There's a new video package for your intro, boys. You're welcome.
Oh, so where do we want to go next? Because I
think you forgot. I think you forgot one of the biggest things in night one that is very controversial, and I'm surprised you didn't mention it night one. Jey Uso.
You don't want to get Nick started down that road.
I do. I do, only because I feel like maybe Nick and I will be on the same page. Maybe we'll be on the same page on this whole thing, because I love the internet. I love Twitter so much. I'm watching this match go down. I'm watching all 9 spears and all 20 splashes and 20 super kicks. And I'm going, okay, we're almost to the end. One more big splash. 1, 2, 3, we're going home. And then he gets up. And I'm like, oh, what's he doing now? Is he going to try and do the Brock moonsault? Like, what's the extra thing? And it is a sleeper hold. And I said, oh, okay, I get it. And then 2 seconds after, I said, well, I don't get it anymore. I do not understand it. What are we doing? Why are we doing this?
That's exactly how I felt Monday night with him, and we'll get to that in a little bit.
And the intranet, the wonderful, such a great internet, wonderful land of the internet on Twitter says, well, because he being Gunther, is susceptible to the chokehold. Ilya Dragunov did it in NXT, and if you he tapped real quick. That's what it is. He's just nobody has figured it the fuck out for fucking 3 years that this guy's been on the main roster. That if you choke him, he taps. You're telling me that's the lore of all that shit with, oh my God, I started losing it. I said, you got to be joking me. And I hated. Listen, similar to how I'll feel about the main event, night 2, I thought night 1, that match, you have Jey win 1,000%, 60+ people yeeting, great setting, great visual. But here's a little something for you. I was in Minnesota 2 weeks prior at Raw, up in the suite, watching everything go down. It was the week after Jay's brother gets choked out and bloodied. And he says, I'm not afraid of you anymore. but that's why I'm not going to fight you right now. And he runs. Like, that's how it went in my head. You're telling me you told your mama, I'm going to handle this man, and you choke him out. He taps you, you let go. You're like, thanks. See you guys. I have seen UFC fights where a man gets choked out and they're like, hey, bud, the show's over. And he's like, nah, he said some shit about me in the press conference. Fuck it. He's done. He is done. This guy about murdered your brother on live television. And you just say, okay. Like, you got to be kidding me. That I hated the entirety of that finish. Yes, it was the right call for him to win. No, the finish was not the right move. But here's what Hunter will say. Mike, it doesn't matter. We're shooting here. It doesn't matter how you feel, because 60,000 people doing this is all they care about.
I thought this was the most predictable WrestleMania title match in WrestleMania history. When
it should be.
He won the Rumble, I knew he was going to win. So as a Gunther backer, I had a slow mourning process from the Royal Rumble to the other night. I was just pissed off about the finish. I don't think Jay is world heavyweight championship material. I don't. Sorry, I don't. And now he gets behind The Miz, Jinder Mahal, and the Great Khali at the end of the line as the worst major title holder that I can think of in recent history.
The difference is the money movement on his end compared to those guys doesn't matter.
I know it doesn't, but
the moments he's had in the ring compared to those guys is above anything they've done. The problem for me,
Miz main evented at WrestleMania.
He did.
Not main event Jey Uso, though.
He doesn't remember that main event, just like everybody else probably wishes they couldn't. But
I remember it.
So I do too, and I wish I could. But
I know.
I wish I got the Miz's concussion. But I like Jay. For me,
I don't hate him. I just don't like him as a champion.
It's been a struggle, though, to be on the bandwagon of because I get why he's you sell merch, you draw seats, you do this. Absolutely. As a promoter.
Jason, LA Knight did that too.
I agree. Trust me, I would have rather seen him in a position. Why's he got the US? He doesn't need it. Now it's off. Now I'm hopeful. I am hopeful. We'll talk about the Monday thing because there's a lot of Monday stuff that I feel LA Knight is they're going to shift. He's going to be involved in some stuff. I hope. I pray. I pulled out the good book again, gentlemen. And I said, Lord, help us, Lord. But I just, yes, we'll talk about all that soon. But I get why you move with Jay. But ever since last year's WrestleMania with his wonderful match with his brother, it's been tough.
Yeah. He did it. Obviously, he's proof that it can be done. But how do you come off a WrestleMania match like he had with his brother and be the hottest thing in the company or one of the hottest people in the company?
Because
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with him putting the title on him.
He connects with the crowd.
Yeah,
which is huge, and that's a big part of it. And listen, even as a promoter, we have that happen. I've seen it. Not even as a promoter, I've seen it as a performer on shows. You see some people where you go, him, and then you see why, and you feel it, and you connect with it, and it's like, okay, yeah, I get it. Jay's one of those guys, and it's not that Jay's not a good wrestler. I guess depends on what your definition of wrestler is for some people. Jay is a good performer, but there's just and then the people are going to say, well, he's not Roman. He's never going to be Roman. He doesn't need to be Roman. He just needs to be Jay. He just needs to be Jey Uso, and that's it. But run's still early, gentlemen. The run is still early.
Which was my next question to you. Do you see a long run out of him? Like, I don't see him holding the belt like Cody did for a year.
I don't think a year. I think that there's a certain visionary, a certain revolutionary, I think that guy probably is sitting in a position. You heard, hey, Monday. We'll talk about Monday, but
right.
He's the guy. Has to be, right.
Probably.
I would think so. Yeah. I mean, would I have liked to see Braun Breaker elevated into the position to take on Jay? I think so.
I think everybody. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of thoughts to that because the people I've talked with about that whole thing too, they're very surprised. I felt like it based off the McAfee show Monday that there was a direction things were going, and you kind of get the vibe over time too that maybe this direction. But again, we'll talk about that here in a minute.
Well, let's proceed with the action on night 2. We talked about the women's opener, which was a phenomenal match, by the way. We then go into Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre, the street fight, Sin City street fight, whatever you want to call it. I like both these guys. I think these guys were both two ships lost in the night that, neither one of them had anything. So let's get on Mania card and let's do it, Yep. Drew finally gets a Mania win, gets a win back after losing last year. And, what's next for Damian Priest? I had no problems with this match. I thought it was fine for what it was. Wasn't anything too, over the top here, but I thought these guys did the best they could with the time they were allotted. And I figured Drew was going over, and that's what happened.
Yeah, I thought that it was a good match. I thought, again, you start off with the women's match. Okay, how do you follow it? Well, it's not going to be better than the women's. It's just, I feel like it's another Drew match, it's another Damian match. But their stuff last year wasn't bad. Everything they were putting together during that run was really good, and I thought this was really good too. You add a stipulation, which can be hit or miss, and I thought that they embraced the elements. I thought that they did a really good job, and I thought that this is what it was. It didn't need to go above and beyond, but I thought that the women brought it here. Now we're coasting. Now we're not dipping down. We're not losing momentum. We're not losing interest. We're steady, ship steady. So I thought that in that aspect, Drew and Damian delivered what they needed to. And the biggest thing now too is what do you do with them? What do you do with both people? You need, you hear Bruce Pritchard talk about fresh coat of paint. I think they both get somewhat of that. I think you see, I don't know if there's going to be a draft. I mean, do they really need a draft at this point anymore with everybody appearing on both shows or all 3 shows? But I think you see Drew move over to the red brand again, which I think he needs. I think that would be good for him to be on Raw again for several reasons, which will tie into the conversation here in a minute about Raw. But Damian, I think you can listen. He's another guy. We talked about Rhea, Bianca, Io. You could put Priest in with guys like Jacob Fatu, have him working in that U.S. picture, U.S. title picture, because that was another thing. Night 1, I thought, we talk about night 1, the triple threat was really good. I thought if there was one match that competed with or was better than the triple threat, Fatu and LA Knight was that match. So yeah, I mean, I think there's another group of guys you can do some stuff with. LA Knight needs to be pushed to the moon, and they just it's do or die. It feels like with that guy.
I agree.
As a fan, because okay, you got your run out of him. It was solid. It was good. You got your match. He's having a good match on SmackDown every week. He's having a great match on pay-per-views. Now we got to do something. There's got to be a payoff, and I think he needs a move. I think that's similar to Drew. Move him over to Raw, and I mean even Drew and LA Knight. That's a solid, that's a solid book. That's a solid pair right there too. Put them against each other. I think that could be some good stuff, some good entertainment. But yeah, he if you don't putting Priest for now in that picture with a Fatu and LA Knight, even Shinsuke, if they ever want to make him relevant again for 2 months, you put those guys in that mix.
Jason, let me ask you this. Speaking about LA Knight, excuse me, do the powers that be have the confidence in him to be in that main event picture? Does he have a glass ceiling right now that he can break through?
So I think they have to have some confidence in him because you put him.
And I don't disagree.
You put him in a position as a champion. Put him in prime spots as far as match placement on a show. Quarter hour, start of the show. You plug him in with certain people because he's gonna get that reaction, bring in that audience. So I think they know it, but I just, again, they're fortunate enough. You have so many guys that can be in the main event picture.
Yeah.
And for those guys too, it's even like, okay, we got to do this. Like Roman's sitting there saying, hey, I got maybe 2 years left of doing this. So now you got to get Roman matches that are desired done and over with. Punk, I feel like Punk's another guy. Okay, maybe he's got, let's be honest, maybe 2 or 3 good years.
Yep.
And then who knows? Not saying guys over 50 can't go. Cope is a good example of it. I think Cope's still killing it over the age of 50. Jericho was for a minute, and then it's weird. He got skinnier and started not. And I say this as a big guy who lost weight. You get skinnier, you somehow lose a step. I don't get it. But I think guys over 50, it's either hit or miss. Flair was an example. Hogan was an example. Taker tried to avoid being an example. Couldn't do it. But, for Punk, he's got a couple good years. So I feel like they feel the pressure of let's get these guys while we still got them, and they're still able to go. And so they hold off on some people, but you can't anymore. LA Knight should have been, in my opinion, he should have been in the position Jey Uso has been placed in.
Yes.
And unfortunately, it's not the case. You could have gotten that same feel and probably a better match with LA Knight against Gunther with 60,000 people, screaming "yeah" at the top of their lungs versus doing the eat for a little bit on a lackluster finish. But LA Knight's there's a time window. They should know it. If they're not aware of it, they should know it. Imagine. I mean, look at Austin. And I will compare it because it is comparable.
Very comparable.
When Austin was getting over in '96, they were doing everything they could. They're 96 Austin, middle of '96 is when he got really hot. '97 they didn't do nothing, and '98 is when they pulled the trigger. LA Knight, kind of the same length. The gets over in like 21, 22. Okay, so you wait. 23, he gets his big push. 24, they should have done more. Now this year, you kind of got to do something with them now. You can't just let this get away. There's money to be made. There's stories to be told. You got to do it this year.
And he is, or at least one point was, as big of a merch seller as Jay is with the as the eat.
Yeah.
Big time.
Big time. Absolutely.
We are the Card Subject to Change, the podcast for the fan, by the fan. I am Never Wrong Nick Bull, joined by my co-host, the Wizard CZ. We have the co-founder of Absolute Pro Wrestling, Jason Prentice, in the studio tonight, and we're breaking down Wrestlemania Night 2, which leads us now, if we're done talking about Damian and Drew, to the Intercontinental four-way. And I was really excited for this match because 4 guys I love to watch in the ring, 4 guys that I like as characters, and I just thought it was nearly impossible for these guys to go out and have a bad match. I'm talking about the champion Braun Breaker defending his belt against Dominic Mysterio, Finn Balor, and Penta.
What a turnaround! Oh, go ahead, Jason.
No, you're good. You're good. You go ahead. Susan.
I loved everything about this match from the start to almost the finish. I loved the story progression. I picked Dom to win. I thought him pinning Finn would make things dicier in the Judgment Day. That's what went down. I love the action of this match. Braun had a WrestleMania moment with another captivating spear. My complaint, it's the same damn finish as the match 2 matches ago. And it's the biggest wrestling show of the year. How come nobody's bitching and complaining about this? Like, when it happened, I'm like, I just saw that. What's going on here?
That we know of. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like at our level of shows, that's one of the biggest things we talk about. Just, hey, be mindful of what's happening. If we want to pull back the curtain a little bit there. But I dug it. I loved it. I was like, man, they just did this. And I had a buddy of mine who's not in the business or nothing. He's a good college friend of mine. He messaged me. He goes, did they just steal EO's finish? Yes. I said, a little bit. Just a little bit. 1,000%. And he goes, did it still work? I said, hell yeah. He goes, all right. He's like, yeah.
It did work. I mean,
it worked. It did. Yeah. I get it. I get the, like, what the hell are we doing? But at the same time, sometimes it don't matter because they freaking erupted for it. Now, here's the difference. Io went upside down. Dom just went straight forward. See, that's different. It's not the same finish, Nick.
That is exactly what I said to him on Sunday night.
Hey.
Using
clean underwear and dirty underwear are both still underwear.
Using my Becky Lynch action figure, what Io did was she went whoop, right? And Dom was all like frog splash. You know what I mean? Like, there's a difference.
Other than that, I loved the match. I just thought it was a little odd. They had the same finish as a match 2 matches ago. Not 2 shows ago, but 2 matches prior. I'll say the same thing about Braun as I did last year about Gunther after Gunther dropped the belt to Sammy at night 1 of 40. Bigger things to do. Yep. Braun's got bigger things to do. We'll get to that. Dom needed this the most probably out of all these guys, and then needed it to fuel the fire because, Finn's leaving the Judgment Day. It's just a matter of when now.
So I think someone is leaving Judgment Day. And I thought it was Finn. And then I'd watch a little bit of the aftermath and everything. Listen, the fans are cheering for Dom. They love Dom. They want to be with him. What's better? Finn Balor leaving the Judgment Day and being bad Finn without the Judgment Day, and Dom's got the girl, the belt, and the fans behind him, or they take it all away from him. Dom loses the girl, loses the belt, has to eat a little crow, maybe ask his daddy to forgive him a little bit, maybe ask his mommy to forgive him a little bit, and now you get the redemption arc.
So is Dom losing the girl? Is Dom losing the girl soon?
Sooner rather than later.
Man, I thought she.
Will
there be a new girl? Will there be a new girl after this one?
New old girl.
Oh,
because I like, in talking with a couple of people, I say, OG Judgment Day would be cool. See them go against I'm like, yeah, but OG isn't Dom, Rhea, and Damien. It's Finn. And I'm like, that would be interesting. I'm like, you know what though? People are behind Dom. Everybody likes redeemable characters. That's why you look at some of these characters. I like to compare soap opera people. Todd Manning was a horrible character on One Life to Live, but people loved him. He literally did unthinkable things as a human being, but they saw redemption in him. Same with wrestling. You look at these wrestling characters. Hogan, the people in WC, we hate him. They booed him out the building. He turns on everybody, and they're like, but he's still kind of cool. And then he finally in WCW turns back, and everyone's here for him. Austin the same way. They in 01 during the alliance and everything. I think most people are just sick and tired of that angle, anyways, and that's why I want to be a good guy. But they wanted him to come back. So for folks that are cheering for Dominic, if the company doesn't see there's money to be made with him, and the money is in the babyface, they're gonna lose some. They're gonna lose some money there. I think we see that. I think Finn gets the girl, and that's been the plan all along. I feel like when Liv reminds him, "Hey, this is good though, right?" It's to tell him, shush it. Don't give it away. Don't sell the farm. I think there's collusion. Collusion, my guy.
Okay. I like it. I love this match. It was fun. I've watched it twice now since it aired. I enjoy it. It's just a fun match to go back and watch. Just 4 dudes going. It's a fast-paced match, and I mean, it's not a 5-star Meltzer Classic, but it was definitely entertaining and got the job done.
Yeah. Yes. And kudos, like you've been talking about, to Dom getting the crowd behind him. What a turnaround from being the most hated person in WWE, or arguably so, to having that loud of an ovation when he won the title. Holy shit. That's awesome.
Yeah. And you know what? I will say, like Monday, when we talk Monday night, I have a grievance like Nick had with some of this stuff. I have 2 grievances that tie in together based off of what happened Sunday and going into Monday. So otherwise, I thought, phenomenal job by all 4 of those guys. Penta, people are like, Penta looked upset. Again, dude's making a lot of money. Dude's crushing it. He can lose. He doesn't need to be unstoppable forever. And I think inevitably we're going to get the pairing of him and his brother. They're going to go on a big run in the tag division, even though he's seeing merch sales, he's seeing money.
Oh yeah.
It's tough. Like,
so when it comes down to it, you're telling me he's the J of that group
right now, only because he's had that time ahead of his brother.
Yep.
Where if they came in together, I don't think we see that. I don't think we see. I mean, and that's a stupid statement to make because it's very obvious. But I think it could have happened for Ray too. We don't know because obviously things played out the way they played out. But yeah, I think that he doesn't have that boom, that star power behind him, that reaction behind him. If it's him and his brother, not saying they wouldn't get a good reaction. I'm saying the machine doesn't get behind him like this if they're together right away.
Right.
Can I just say that I was secretly hoping that they would have a backstage pass by where they just kind of glance at each other sometime.
Oh yeah, they should have. They absolutely should have. I felt like there were some missed moments on that. I know obviously the AAA deal, they had them all out there together. And sure, that's whatever, but they could have done more with it. I think they could have had moments like that. And that's they used to do that with a lot of manias back in the day. Guys interacting, interpromotional battles. You saw a lot of that, in the early, mid 2000s. But that element of things. Listen, Super Bowl weekend. How many times, or even Pro Bowl weekend? How many times do you see players from different teams we usually beat the crap out of this guy. Let's take, they're interacting, they're intermingling. That's time where you can acknowledge it, I feel like, on screen a little bit. Like, hey, this brings together everybody from all across the brands to be in one space.
Sure. I don't have anything more to add than the 4-way for the Intercontinental. So let's go to the next one, because I think this is going to be some interesting talk here. And I'm talking about Randy Orton. It was originally scheduled for Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens. Of course, we know Kevin Owens had to step away, and he's already had neck surgery. But I don't expect him back for at least like 2 years. So it's good that Randy Orton was still on the card. They tout that this is his 20th Mania, comes out and cuts a promo. And of course, we wait for the announcement. The slow zoom in on the entrance. And yeah, that was a WrestleMania moment. And here's why. It was so well done. We see a competitor of WWE who's been working with WWE recently. We see them represented on the biggest show of the year with their championship. That's a big deal, in my opinion, in the wrestling world, if you're a wrestling fan. That's pretty cool to see. You didn't see that back in the day. If you remember when Flair brought, the world championship over to WWF, it was what do they call that?
It was censored.
Censored out. It was scrambled.
Blurred out. It was blurred out.
Blurred out. You could not see it. So that is cool. Now that I read more about how this went down, Orton handpicked Joe Hendry. He had guys. They approached him with a couple different guys who didn't have anything, and he handpicked Joe Hendry. So that makes this all even cooler. This was what it was supposed to be. It wasn't going to be a 20-minute knockdown drag-out classic. It was to create a pop, a shock, a moment, and then showcase somebody we haven't seen and have him lose 1, 2, 3 to Orton. I thought it was very well done.
No buts. There's no buts. I have seen so many people say but. I have seen so many people on the internet say, they buried him. They buried the title. They had him go out like a schmuck. He goes, clap, clap. It's Joe Hendry. It's me. I smile. I get RKO. I leave. Okay. But as you said, this would have never happened in the old regime. A title from another organization of that magnitude appearing on TV, appearing on the biggest event that you put on every year would have never happened. So right there, it makes it special in and of itself. He could have faced Jeff Hardy. That was a report that people have put out. I think that would have been cool to see. That would have been another viral moment. It would have been another, big mega pop at Mania, I'm guessing. But that's fine. Again, what's the end goal with Randy? That's the thing I think people miss out. What's the end goal with this guy in this moment, in this match? What is the big? Because you could have put Rusev in that spot, and then they do it. But here's the bad thing: you're bringing him back. He needs to win.
Yep,
he needs to win because he needs to be the guy that they built up in AEW. Yeah, he needs to be that guy as well when he's here now, because what he was before he left was garbage, and now he's something else. So you can't have. But Randy's got bigger things on the horizon. So what do? This was a good spot. You could sit there and say, dude, Joe Hendry got to wrestle in front of 60,000 plus people. He got to wrestle a legend. He got to wrestle a guy who he would never be in a position to work with before the new regime. He got to do some really cool stuff. And for those that are pissing all over it because, Barry, the relationship is one-sided. I didn't hear those people when Kenny Omega was carrying around the TNA title for how many months, and that relationship was even more one-sided than this one. This one has its peaks and balances. There are people from NXT going under in TNA and vice versa. It doesn't matter. What matters is they're creating moments. They're having good matches all around. This was solid. It is what it needed to be. Kudos to everybody for making it happen. To those that don't like it, respectfully, I disagree with how you feel.
I'm right there with you. I'm a huge Joe Hendry fan at the end of the day. I think strap a rocket to him. He's going to be huge. He can eat a loss and be just fine on the biggest stage of them all to one of the biggest names ever to grace the business.
And the other side of it, the heavyweight champion of TNA just lost to Randy Orton. Yep. Just lost to Randy Orton. If he lost to Tozawa, if he lost to Otis, if he lost to insert guy that hasn't been a 14-time heavyweight champion, if he lost to a guy who was not even on speed because that's how terrible they are, if it was a guy like that and he lost on the biggest, bitch and moan about it on Twitter. But he lost to Randy effing Orton. And we're crying about it and we're upset about it. Homie's walking around Vegas with all these people, all these influencers. He's like, I just wrestled Randy Orton. Not a bad day at the. There's videos of it. He's just like, this is awesome. He doesn't care. Neither should you.
Exactly.
Right. I agree.
He won as soon as he walked down that aisle, and it was very well done. Randy handpicked him. Randy did all he could at this time in his career to put somebody in a spotlight and to share the spotlight with somebody. My one criticism with having Joe Hendry there, and it's a fair criticism, I think a lot of people have it, you got so many people on the roster, why can't you give it to one of them? And I get
Sami
that.
Zayn,
I
Sheamus.
get that. Yep.
There were plenty of guys. There was plenty of guys that didn't have a match, that could have had a match, that maybe should have had a match. But also, I'm going to take that argument that you have, which is very, very valid, and say you could also slot them in certain matches that were on the damn show.
Yeah.
Hey, Rey Mysterio goes out. Who's the next guy up? Why is it Rey Fenix, who has been around for X amount? Well, because he's facing luchadors. And Sami Zayn, well, he's not El Generico anymore. So you got to go. You got to go. You're forced to go with this. Okay, storyline purposes, you go with that guy. I understand it. However, you could just say, screw it, and change the course for one night. There are plenty of matches on night 1 and 2 that could have been replaced by guys who deserve to be on the card. Street Profits deserve to be on the card. DIY, Motor City Machine Guns. There's tons of guys you could sit there and advocate for. Not necessarily in the Randy spot, but just throughout the whole show. So it's easy to play armchair quarterback. In this position, they made a big moment. They popped a bunch of fans who spent $1,000 to get their tickets up front.
Bingo.
They needed to do something big. That's something that was big. TNA and Joe Hendry, they benefit from it. Even if you don't think they do, listen, I got a friend of mine who works in digital. Him and I, we were talking about it over the weekend. He's like, this was huge for us. So if he's saying that, I know his role in the company, TNA's happy with how everything went down.
Absolutely.
For sure. Without a doubt. And everybody wins in this scenario, I think. Yeah. So next up on the card, we have AJ Styles taking on Logan Paul. Let me just start by asking you, Jason, what's your thoughts on Logan Paul in general?
Who was it that talked about him on McAfee on Monday? Because everything they said about him was spot on. I think that he is a talent that even though he got in late and he didn't go through the indies and like the dude can deliver, and the dude's willing to do anything in a match with anybody. He just loves what he's doing, and that you can tell he's passionate about it. Yeah, hey, listen, money's a motivator, 1,000%. I know homie's getting money. That's awesome, but he's still doing crazy shit, and he's getting paid big money to do it. So, like, his dedication to the craft, I think if you don't respect it, if you don't like the guy, you know what? There's reasons not to like Logan. I like Logan more than I like his brother. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
You know?
Same here.
They both have punchable faces, but as a performer, the guy gets it. You can see he gets it. He's dedicated to everything. And the fact that he's picked up on stuff, well, it's easy. He's got Shawn Michaels helping him. Yeah, so do a lot of guys at the PC. And he picked up on stuff a lot quicker than a lot of those guys. And he didn't need to go to NXT. Okay?
Right.
Guys delivering, guys having a solid Mania outing, solid pay-per-view outing, solid matches on TV. We'll talk about this match though, because I got my opinion on it.
Well, go ahead and give it, because
yes,
I was looking forward to this match, and then you go back and look at the argument. Well, what fat could you have trimmed from either night? And this, to me, like, I don't know, I was expecting more, I guess. I mean, this just felt like a glorified TV match to me.
Yep. Yeah, 1,000%. That's exactly the best way to describe it. Because a lot of what they're playing out on could have just been done Monday night, could have just been done Night After Mania, and you say, hey, here, listen, you didn't get to see these guys on Mania. You got to come to Monday night to see them. That's why you're buying a ticket. But listen, the other side of that too is the night after WrestleMania, that Raw after WrestleMania, it is not like the 90s and early 2000s, and really, I'd say for a better part, going into the early 2010s, the night after WrestleMania wasn't really a spectacle until maybe 2012, 2013, where people really started focusing in on, hey, this is the big thing. It's kind of like Taker's streak, right? You didn't really hear a lot about it until someone's like, he's at 12 now. Like you didn't pay attention to it a whole lot up until 2012, when people were like, this is typically one of the wild. Look at what's happened in the last 10 years with this show. And they highlight everything, Hunter coming back and joining, or not coming back, but Hunter aligning with Austin after Mania 17 was such a big moment. Brock debuting in 2002. So on Goldberg 2003, like, if you really put your eyes on it, you're like, damn, there is a lot that happened the night after Mania for so long now. And so, like, nowadays saying, hey, Logan and AJ could have been on Mania or the Raw After Mania, you sell an extra seat. Yeah, it's sold. Your sell of the night after WrestleMania Raw is it's the night after WrestleMania Raw. Like, you don't have to say we have this match. It's just a cherry on top. But this match could have been on TV. Karrion Kross. People didn't like it. Didn't like him in that role. And then he did what Charlotte and Tiffany needed to do, which was cut a promo that was money. He comes out and people were shitting all over it online. He ruined the whole thing. AJ and Logan had a solid TV match. They had a solid match, period. I think it was Logan's worst Mania match, and maybe, I'll say it, AJ's worst Mania match too. Not that it was a horrible, horrible match. It just wasn't AJ Styles worthy or Logan Paul worthy in my mind. And that happens. Some guys just don't mesh. It is what it is. But people were crapping all over Karrion. And then he cuts this promo that everyone's like, well, damn, put the rocket on that guy now too. Like, just let's put that guy up there. So coming out of it, I think the big winner in all of this Logan and AJ thing is Kross, which is amazing.
Yeah.
All things considered.
I don't disagree with you. I think him and Styles are obviously set up for a feud, since Logan Paul's really not full time, and I hope Karrion Kross can make the most of his TV time. I think it's a guy they need to have, and I think it's a guy who legitimately cares about the business, and he's not awful at all.
The problem,
they just haven't really had anything for him main roster.
Yes, the problem is too, he needs to deliver in this feud with AJ, but the other side of it is, it's just like Dom. You come out of the scenario where this guy is super hated, no one's high on him, and now he's coming out and they're saying, well, we're behind him. How do you get behind a guy? You have to kind of wait the storm out a little bit in scenarios like this, and it's happened plenty of times in wrestling. Daniel Bryan is a very good example of it. him in that run against Sheamus, people wanted to get behind him. People really wanted to be with him towards the end of that. And they were still, nope, you're a bad guy, you're a bad guy. You kind of just had to take on the storm as they approached him and Kane, and then they finally do all the Team Hell No stuff, and then they're fully behind him as a baby. You kind of have that similar position now with Cross where, okay, they're going to do him and AJ, obviously. You kind of have to wait this thing out, but here's the problem. AJ needs a win, in my opinion. Karrion needs a win. Who needs it more? Cross does. What are they going to do in that situation, though? Because you got to have one loser, and that can hurt some guys, if you ask me. I think AJ can eat it, but I don't know. I think Cross needs to win. They need to push him in a position. AJ, though, honestly, AJ reminds me of where Edge was towards the end of his contract, towards the end of his last run with WWE, where we can have these banger matches with him, but what the hell are we going to do with him in the future? And that's why he left and did his thing. And there's a lot of rumors circulating that AJ's in a contract year. And this could be the thing that kind of, we got nothing else for you. Thanks for doing the time. See you later. I don't know.
He said he wanted to be done wrestling when he was 50. How close is he?
I think it's 48, 47, 48.
Okay.
Let's do a little research. We'll do a little quick research real quick.
47.
47, yeah.
He'll be 48 on June 2nd of this year.
Hey, if he's going to leave, I want him to go back to TNA.
Yeah, but you know what, though? He could stay in that position. He could be in the company and just say, hey, move me there. Because, I don't know. The other side of it is money's a motivator. Money's a hell of a motivator. Hey, go hang out with your friends. Go make a bunch of money. Your friends are no longer here. You really, none of his boys, none of those guys are there anymore. So, yeah. I don't know. I don't know if that's a motivator or not, but AJ's in a very weird predicament. And it's interesting to see what the company's going to do. Shinsuke's another guy in the same position, in my opinion, where you kind of used him up, and now what? And that sucks. That sucks because he's another good egg. He's another good hand to have. And I will say on the flip side, not to get into just a bunch of randomness, but even AEW is starting to have that problem with a bunch of these guys is what do we do next besides just have a match? And I think that's the difference is WWE, they see it, they understand the problem, and they just, hey, if we can get you back in the rotation and it makes sense, let's do it. But for now, you got to do your thing. We're going to do our thing. We understand. So that's where I think they are right now.
And that sucks. You mentioned Shinsuke Nakamura. He should have been handled a lot better than he was. You say they used him up. They used him up in the wrong way, in my opinion.
I agree. Should have won the title at 34 when he won the Rumble. Should have won it at some point in that feud with AJ. Could have had a very good run, in my opinion, as a heel champion. And then AJ gets it back or somebody else gets it. But they wasted too much time with it. And unfortunately, the guys that were watching New Japan weren't watching the full clips, I guess. I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't understand it.
We're going to continue. We're going to continue down the card here unless you guys have something to add. We're going to go to the women's tag match. That's next on the card. The champs, Liv and Raquel, taking on Lyra Valkyrie and a mystery opponent. We can rip the Band-Aid off Monday night now if we want and go ahead and discuss the aftermath of this match or not. No?
We can wait.
We can wait. Okay. Liv and Raquel, Valkyria out there by herself, and the man is back in town. Whoa.
I found my other action figure. I found my other Becky action figure. I found her. It took me a while to go into the closet, but she's been away for a while, so I had to put her merch away. So, But, yeah. She looks great.
Yeah, she does. She looks
fantastic.
She looks good.
Hasn't lost her form.
Nope. She looks good. If there was ring rust, it got knocked off early. they live not too far. From
I think she knows a guy who can help her train.
they got a gym. They got a gym. Yeah, for sure. So
she has friends who can help her get Mania ready.
Absolutely.
At a moment's notice.
And she was Mania ready. About what I expected from this match. Before I knew it was Becky, before Bayley got knocked out of the title pick or knocked out of the match, I thought Liv and Raquel would win. But after that happened and the mystery partner and all the talk of Becky Lynch, I thought for sure they would win. And they did, creating a WrestleMania moment, not only for Becky Lynch, but for Lyra Valkyria as well, who is the women's Intercontinental Champion.
Yeah, she needed a big moment. I felt Lyra did, because you do too. I mean, they're doing so much with her in that position as the women's Intercontinental Champion. The funny thing, so my aunt, she does not watch wrestling at all. She's very occasional. She'll come in. Her son was visiting for Easter, and so she's over at the house watching the show. And she's like, so this gal, the Feather Girl, yep, the Feather Girl, thank you,
yeah.
Aunt, appreciate it. So Feather Girl needs a partner? Yeah. Oh, what if it was Nikki Bella? Out of nowhere. And I said, if you just cursed us with the appearance of Nikki Bella.
You can look, but you can't touch.
On Easter Sunday, you can get the hell out of my house. Just go, leave, keep the cheesy potatoes at the house, keep the deviled eggs. We'll take care of that. You just get the hell out of my house.
The green bean casserole.
Goodbye.
Yeah, thankfully, thank God. Again, we were saying, praise the Lord. Praise the Lord, because we need a little Becky. We need a little Becky instead of Nikki. You know what I mean? We need a little Becky instead of Nikki. We got some Becky, unfortunately. But yeah, the match was fine. I like this is the other side of it too that I like. So people are like, I hate it. Bayley doesn't get a moment. I agree. Hate it. My niece Jade loves her too. She hated it. I wholeheartedly agree. Bayley should have had a moment at Mania. Her interview with Chris Van Fleet breaks my heart when she talks about a lot of the challenges she's dealt with and just her mentality on some things wrestling wise. You just feel for her as a human being, not as a performer, but a human being. And so she gets she even hinted this interview was filmed I think on Friday night or Thursday, and she even hints that people are going to be upset coming out of this weekend with what happens with her. And Chris is like, is that foreshadowing something? And she's like, just you'll see. And so you're like, what? She deserves to have a moment. She got a moment last year. She's been super solid. She should have gotten a match at Mania, and you could have had Becky involved with whatever. But the story of Becky and Liv, they bring it back. They bring it full circle. Cole, McAfee, Barrett, they did a great job of, this makes sense. Liv's been saying for about 10 months now, hey, she retired Becky. She did all this stuff. She's the last person who beat her. She did all this. Awesome job. Yep. So creatively, I understand it. And kudos to those guys for telling the story, which is what we're all about in this world, telling the story of why and making it make sense. Good on them. The match was what it was. It wasn't a 5-star classic, but it was a solid tag outing. And it needed, listen, I think the Logan and AJ match kind of dipped a little bit on the show as far as our momentum. I thought the tag, you make a moment, you have a good solid match. It brought everything back up to speed, especially right before the main event. So,
before we talk about the main event, I want to ask you, I kind of felt this going in, not with every match, but I feel this was the most predictable Mania in a while. You kind of knew the writing was kind of on the wall. The storytelling was good. I'm not complaining, but you kind of knew, you knew Jay was coming away with the title. You kind of knew where things were going to go. What do you feel about that, Jason?
I feel like there are certain elements that were predictable. Coming into it, I feel like half the card, you're like, all right, this is what's going to happen. Here's the beauty of it, and this conversation after night one especially. Hey, I bet you money, Paul, teams up with Seth. I further went on to say they're going to be involved with Cena the next night. I was wrong about that. Wish it would have been that way. But I say to a few people, I'm like, Paul's definitely going to leave it with Seth. There's no way around it. It's going to happen.
Yep.
We go in, we say, oh, this is going to happen. We know it's going to happen. But it's the how that matters most.
Yes,
If you
I agree
can
with
still
that
do the
completely.
how, if you can still do the how and leaves us all losing our mind and still saying, I didn't think it'd be that, then you've accomplished the job. Night one, they did that with the triple threat with the men, where for a minute you think, oh shit, we're not going to get Seth and Paul, because he hands and Roman's just beating the crap out of Punk with the chair, and you're like, damn it, all right, this is interesting. Well, then what did I do with Seth? And then, oh, okay, we're back on track. Holy crap, what in the hell is going on? So while predictable in some cases, it's all about the payoff and it's all about the finish of it all. If you can still, that fatal four-way felt like Don was going to win. How does he win? The most beautiful fashion, even if it took away from, even if it stole its, hey, copy my homework, but don't make it too obvious kind of thing. Even though they did the EO's finish, I thought that that was predictable, but it was still an awesome sight to see. And I think the fans that's your proof. Orton, that was unpredictable in all the best of ways. And otherwise, yeah, I think half the card you could be like, yeah, you can see it coming, but it all boils down to how they did it. And I think in a lot of avenues they did great, but there's still one match to talk about where I don't think they did.
I can't wait to hear this. Let's just go ahead and rip it right off. John Cena, history was made as he became what he calls himself the last real champion title of the show. I rolled with it just because of the history aspect, but
Mark.
and proud of it.
I'm kidding you.
But Jason, I'm going to let you take the lead here. I'm anxious to hear what you have to say.
So, talked about the commentary, Michael Cole and those guys. They did a great job after the match of saying, hey, here's why this works. Awesome job. They crushed the aftermath. For those that are not aware, spoiler alert, if you're watching Card Subject to Change, we've been spoiling the entire card to WrestleMania. We're about to spoil, if you're just joining us, that John Cena won against Cody Rhodes. Shocking, I know. Wait till you hear how in the later part of this rant. Everybody expected Cena to win. It was the how that was very mucky. How is it going to go down? Because he needed to win. Cody needed to lose. John coming back, if he loses it, then what the hell are we doing? Wins Chamber, great, but he lost at Rumble, lost how many times before then? He needed to come out with the title. He needed to break Flair's record. We're doing this thing, right? The how is the problem for me. And I've already had Facebook threads, I'm going to call them threads, on the Messenger, where I've yelled about what I had an issue with. And the people have replied to me saying, here's why you're wrong. You're an idiot. It's exactly what he was supposed to do. The character is supposed to make you feel this way and all that. I understand the why. I understand the who, the what, the when. But the how. How the hell can you send Travis Scott out to do what exactly besides eat at Crossroads? Oh, well, Cody got his Nope. Didn't need it. Because as it was explained on the Pat McAfee show today, Pat, who had The Rock on the show because homie's busy with whatever The Rock does, hey, when Travis came out, people thought you were going to show up. 100% they did. People see Travis and we think, if your smell's going to hit, and we're finally going to have a continuation of whatever the hell this whole story is, why they're all connected. And then Fiend just keeps playing and playing and playing. And I already have it stuck in my damn head as it is.
I know.
As these kids at my house are fiending and yeeting and all this crap. And then there was just no point. And the match itself before then, it was slow. It was methodically paced. Cena's hitting the shoulder. I love that. The nonchalant shoulder tackle. There's no duck the line. It's just go up, boop. You cannot locate my location. And, then they go from there. Okay, love that. I love him slowing the pace down. He's a bad guy. He's got to do that. It wasn't going to be a classic. It could have been, and for different reasons and in different avenues. But then Travis Scott comes out and ruins the whole freaking match, in my opinion. Didn't need him. Made no sense. And then Cody looks like a pussy in front of the whole world as he's holding the title up. Do I hit him? Do I hit him? Do I hit him? Should I do it? No. Kick to the dick. You've already been hitting the dick before. It just frustrates the hell out of me. And people are like, well, that's how it should be. And then he gets clocked with the title. Hey, we haven't seen that happen in a long time. I don't think we have seen the clock in the head with the title in WWE lead to the change of a champion in a very, very long time. I mean, we're talking maybe, okay, I'm probably over exaggerating, but it feels like 90s, like it's the early 2000s, poignant memories. I don't think I've seen that in a long time be the finish of a match, because typically we see boop, and that's what everybody at my house thought. They thought, oh, he gets hit with the belt. Surely this isn't done yet. They just did all this crap. And then, nope, 3 hits. And you're like, that's it. That's it. And then people go, well, that's his gimmick. He's ruining wrestling. Here's the problem with this whole mindset. If his goal, his character is, I'm going to ruin wrestling. If you have shitty matches, things, interest, ratings, people giving a shit, start going down a little bit. Doesn't matter how much money you're making the company. It can, maybe, who knows. But when people's interest starts going down and it starts to show, there's a change that has to happen. I hate the explanation from Cena. I think it's just say it for what it is. As we heard on the McAfee show today, Dwayne ruined everything. That's all it comes down to. Yep. Dwayne didn't want to be a part of Mania because he wasn't going to get the story he wanted with Cody, as far as Cody being a bad guy. And so we got this instead. And Rocky took his ball and hung out in Hawaii because he can do that. And he's super cool with his super cool tattoos and his super cool Terramana tequila. And he just, none of it made sense. So that Mania finish, if you could have flipped that with the triple threat for the men's, Night 2 ends with a bang, and I say it's one of the best Manias that we've seen with Night 2. Instead, it was a cherry. Remember that line I said earlier? You put a cherry on top of a shit sandwich that has some good stuff underneath it, but you still have to get through the shit to get unfortunately, to the good stuff. Just left me sour, pissed me off in all the wrong ways. You should be upset that Cena won. Yes, he's a bad guy. That's his job. Should be upset, but upset for all the wrong reasons. No right. Rock, no payoff, no nothing. Raw After Mania made up for it, in my opinion, with some things and some tweaks, and we'll talk about it.
Well, go ahead, CZ.
I just want to mention my biggest issue with Travis Scott coming out. Yeah, I'm upset that The Rock wasn't there, but Travis Scott, when he made his entrance, Cody could have gotten up, taken a piss, and come back to the ring in the amount of time it took Travis Scott to get down to the ring.
Yep. Hey, he hit him with the crossroads. Yep. And then he's up cheering with Cena and doing all that stuff. Travis Scott does not listen. I get what they're trying to do. They did it with Bad Bunny, and it worked so well. The difference is Bad Bunny, his position and everything, and the way he was produced, the way he came across, guy busted his ass, guy trained it. It's not saying Travis isn't going to do it. There's a rumor. I guess that was discussed on McAfee as well, that he's training with Booker T at his school to be involved in something, which I don't know if I want to see that. I don't know if I want to see Travis Scott and Cody Rhodes in a match, because that's likely what it would be. But he has ruined two images for me as a fan. He ruined Cena's image on Sunday night, the image of him becoming the 17th champion, and he ruined the Elimination Chamber moment with Rock and Cena, in my opinion.
Yep.
You just don't need him in that spot. You can have him involved. You can have him singing Fiend. You can have him do all this stuff. I just felt like he didn't add. That's what it comes down to. If he added to it, great. Bad Bunny adds to something 1,000%. And I get why they work with these guys. They have a cultural impact. They have fans from one profession. They're coming from music. They're coming from pop culture to check out something they may not be interested in, may never have seen, whatever. With Travis Scott, it has failed. It's not been a success like Bad Bunny. It has failed in every avenue that I've ever seen with a celebrity involved in any story. I thought that it was just weak. You can't have that when it's the biggest night of the freaking year. And the biggest match of the whole weekend looks like crap because of one thing.
Are we going to go around and are we going to do letter grades for the show? And if so, are we going to do night 1, night 2 combined, or just combined?
I think you got an average score, so just go combined. Might as well, right? Right.
Okay. CZ.
I'm going to give it a solid, I don't know. That's tough. I'm going to have to say a B- overall for the whole weekend, if we're doing the whole weekend.
Okay. Mr. Prentice.
Yeah, B-, and I think that's being generous. I thought that night 1 was just absolute dog water. You know, Punk, Seth, and Roman that was a beautiful, beautiful match. Fatu and LA Knight was awesome, and Jey Uso and Gunther was solid for what it was until the end, and that's what ruined it for me. So you have 2 matches on a 8-match card.
7 matches on each night.
Yeah, so you have 2 matches that deliver. Night 1, to me, that C+ at the very best. But night 2, I felt night 2 had plenty of substance. Maybe one match that, again, with the Logan Paul and AJ, I felt like that dipped a little bit on the show. But it wasn't that the match was horrendous. I mean, compared to night 2, or to night 1 rather, that match could have been the main event of night 1. You know,
right.
It could have been. It could have been on that card. It could have been, could have elevated the show a little bit. But yeah, I think that night 2 definitely brought the letter grade up a little bit. But that the last image you see, one of the last images you see, is that, and it's just like, okay, it was rough. It was rough to watch as a fan, but Raw after WrestleMania made up for it. And what did you think? What did you think, man?
I'll be harsh here because the main event of night 1 to me gives it I'm going to go C+. Like 79% C+.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with it.
Just didn't have enough matches deliver the way they should have been. And I think it's a combination of Travis Scott showing up and not The Rock. I think it's a combination of some of these matches could have been like Jade and Naomi didn't need to be at Mania, in my opinion. That could have been on TV.
Though, they could have been on TV too, but I think they're the same. They're in the same bubble as Logan and AJ, where it wasn't that it was such a bad match. Like, I think they were better than Charlotte and Tiffany. If we're keeping a match off the Mania card, it's Charlotte and Tiffany. For the women's, Jade and Naomi, they had what people viewed as a lesser story. It was an important story, but it was lesser because the title's not involved, and Charlotte and it's all this. I thought Jade and Naomi had a way better match, and they should have been regarded as such as compared to Tiffany and Charlotte at the end of it. But that's, of course, hindsight's 2020, and everything comes out the way it does. But yeah, I agree with you as far as those two. It could have been a TV match, but it also could have been a train wreck. Thank goodness it was not.
Right. All right. B-, B-, C+ for WrestleMania 41. let's fast forward and go to Mania, or excuse me, the Raw After Mania. This would be the first Raw After Mania on Netflix. And I think CZ and I were discussing this maybe before the show or in passing or something. This was the longest Raw on Netflix, I think, since the beginning.
Yep.
That first one that gave us Punk and Rollins back on like the first one that aired in January. So,
yep.
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, talk about your biggest takeaways, or how do you want to do Raw, CZ?
Well, I don't think we need to break it down match by match like we've done with Mania. I think this is more about moments and what happened in.
Tell me what you liked
coming.
and tell me what you hated about Raw After Mania.
Well, I'll start with what I liked the most. Is I liked the way it ended. I'm very happy that it looks like Braun Breaker is getting a spotlight role. Not that he didn't have that with the Intercontinental Championship, but I think having him backed by Seth and Paul Heyman, I think that's going to strap a rocket to him, because that's only going to propel him to the stratosphere. I think you and I share. I think you and I share similar thoughts on this. I wasn't as upset as you were with this, but the situation with Gunther, I do not like when commentators, announcers, what have you, are involved in stories. I don't think it's necessary, at least not to the extent that it was now. And if we're building towards a match between Pat McAfee and Gunther, I don't know that I'm that invested in that. Nothing against Pat McAfee. He's done a great job when he's gone in the ring, but not my cup of tea.
So, going off yours real quick, going off your low point. So I was at first, I was like, about the Gunther situation. I thought in that scenario, the only thing I would have done differently in that is I would have done a stretcher job with Pat. You know, something a little more dramatic. You know, give him a blood count. You know, listen, if he can leave Jimmy bloody and stuff. But also, the guy's the host of an ESPN show and has to be there at work the next day. And how do you sell that? So I'm sure those are things that go into consideration, unless you're Shannon Sharp. But you know, the other side of it is somebody made a great point where they said, hey, if McAfee is facing Gunther, let's just say a Backlash, that is a good route only because it gives something for Gunther and it's an easy win. And the guy needs something like that right now. And if you look at the players on the table at the moment, well, Punk's busy. Roman's not going to be around to face Gunther, let's be honest. If they do the draft, because that's the thing, there's been no word about a draft soon, which typically happens after Mania. So if you call anybody up or if you bring anybody over, who do you put into that position with Gunther? I think this is an easy avenue. Because you already know, okay, this could be good. And Pat's going to deliver. Pat's going to knock it out of the park like he's been doing in matches dating back to when he was in NXT, you know, doing stuff with Adam Cole. So I think it's an easy move, but at the same time, yeah, I don't know. Wasn't super high on it, but it makes sense once somebody pitched that to me, like, you know, that okay, yeah, okay, good on them. The biggest high, yeah. Do we call them the new Dangerous Alliance? Do we call them, you know, the wise guys, wise men? Like, you know, like what are we thinking here as far as that? I don't know, but I think there's more to come. I think we see Becky get involved, which would be cool. Me and somebody else were talking last night, and I'm like, gosh, if they do this Dangerous Alliance thing, someone's like, oh, it's like Evolution. Okay, say it's like Evolution. Who do you put in that position to elevate them? And guys like Ethan Page would be great in that position, I think. I think that Trick Williams would be good. Carmelo Hayes would be good. I I think there's plenty of guys that have a substance to, if you pair them with Braun and Seth, they could absolutely crush it, especially with Heyman. They could absolutely crush it. I'm okay with Paul Heyman managing guys. If there's 5 matches on the card, I'm okay with him managing 4 out of 5. If that's what ends up happening, where he's got a tag, a singles, and another singles. Like, it's just cool. Go for it. You know, I think there's a lot to be done with it. I think it's geared more Dangerous Alliance than it is Evolution, but I hope more people go through. I think Rusev should get attached to it. I think he would be fantastic in there, because I think inevitably what's going to go down is that Braun is going to circle back and be a baby and go against those guys. He's in a spotlight role. He's going to be the next Dave, and for all the right places and pieces that he brings. And I think he's the guy that ends up beating the tar out of everybody and taking down the baby faces. Because he doesn't listen. He benefits from Heyman, doesn't necessarily need Heyman, and even Seth. I think Seth doesn't need Heyman, but I think the character, like the worker, doesn't need him. The promo guy doesn't need him. It's just like Punk. He's a great addition, just to have an addition.
Yeah.
I think Rollins needed Heyman because that character was getting stale. 1,000%. And I know my good friend Joey Jojo will hate that I said that, but yeah, I think the character was getting super stale. He needed a boost, and here we are. And he's one of the hottest acts now on TV. And even, I should say, an even hotter act than he already was. This elevates him. This elevates Braun. I think Rusev should get involved with it. I think Drew McIntyre's another guy that'll be involved as a piece. I was talking about, they have War Games. They're pushing that. San Diego Padres Stadium. If this leads to a War Games match, who do you put in there? Is it 5 guys for Heyman, or is it just associates or whatever? So if Heyman gets 5 men that are involved, I said, who else would benefit from this whole situation is the New Day. I think the New Day with Paul Heyman would be very interesting to watch.
Ooh.
A lot of this will not happen. I know it won't happen, but there's a lot of that's what I really like about this is we are speculating about it, which means it's obviously got people talking about it. So that's my big takeaway as far as big moments. The Rusev comeback was awesome. I think, listen, people will say, did he get Def Rebelled with the theme song? I think the theme's awesome. It shows the fact that he's not the same guy that he was before. He's a better version of what he was, and he should absolutely just tear guys up for the next 9-10 months before inevitably, getting close to the Intercontinental Championship and going on a run with that for a while. I think that should be the path. This is the way. I think that's where he should go. As far as downer, here's my downer for the night. It's 2, but it's the same thing. The Judgment Day segment with Finn. He's looking at the title. You can tell, you feel it. You can see he's not happy, right? And then, remember we talked about copy and homework earlier with Night 2? We get that again with Sami Zayn and Jey Uso. Sami's looking at the heavyweight title, and you see it. And it's like, why, oh, why are we copy and pasting so much? Bayley gets attacked by a mystery assailant. If that turns out to be Becky, and we just did the same thing with Jade and Naomi.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing, guys? It just feels like we're going to take easy avenue, just cheap avenues at that. We're not going to have anything different. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. In this case, the Sammy tease, well, it's a baby teasing being a heel, and it's a heel teasing, kicking the crap out of his friend who is now a baby. It is different, but it's still, don't copy my homework. Don't make it so noticeable, whatever. That's the only thing I didn't like from Raw. Otherwise, I thought it made up for a lot of mistakes from the weekend. I thought every match was super solid. Love the fact that Liv and Raquel got the titles back. I wish they would have. I honestly, while Lyra needed a win in her debut, and again, she's the Intercontinental Champion, she needed it. I would have been okay knowing that this was going to be the end result. I would have been okay with that happening at Mania.
Absolutely.
I would have been okay with it.
Yeah.
Well, that's like maybe tweak, to use the Rock's term. I would have tweaked it a little bit. But otherwise, yeah, I thought Raw After Mania delivered where it needed to deliver.
And Nick, I want to hear your highs and lows, but I want to circle back to something Jason said, talking about the new Dangerous Alliance, for lack of a better name. You throw out a lot of great names. Can I throw one more out that I think would benefit? Because I think he's got a lot of great potential, but he has not been booked right since he's been called up to the main roster, and that's Austin Theory.
You know what, though? So someone said that we were talking about it last night in our group chat we have, and I think if you do it, one guy's like, I hate Waller. I said, yeah, but Theory's getting cheered. He does great with public appearances. He does great with a lot of these things, and that's kind of in the tease, is that Waller's going to dump him. I think that's the move, is you have Waller go and be part of this thing, because he needs a little something. Let's be honest. He needs some substance. But Theory could be another mega babyface if done. You like this one, if done right. If done right. Which, hey, The Rock said that today on Pat McAfee, and I said, that's my line. Stop stealing my shit, Dwayne. But Theory could be a very good babyface if done correctly within the realm of WWE. I think Waller would need that spot more than Theory. You can even put them both in there and have something happen where they get rid of either one and make it make sense. But yes, that's another name that I think a lot of people are looking forward to getting something.
Yes. And I can't disagree with that. That's a valid point there.
And not Cross. Cross don't need it. Cross doesn't need to be involved in that. I don't think guy's got to be a mega baby face at some point. If you look at what is going on, it's like the Dom thing. Dom's getting baby face reaction. Dom needs to be a baby face. Let all these things play out. Same thing with Cross. Cross needs to be AJ in this feud. Everyone needs to move on, but Cross needs to be designed in that role. You imagine, listen, big babyface Cross against Rusev.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You know, the IC title. There's the vision for you. Next year's Mania, if you can build Cross for a year and get everybody behind him, and he's a killer, him against another killer in the form of Rusev.
Yeah.
There's your money.
I know. I'm for it. Absolutely for those two guys being on the show next year.
Yeah, I agree. Nick, tell us your thoughts on the Raw.
I won't dwell on it, man, but as a Gunther fan, dude, I was just beside myself last night. Had I heard what you had proposed, I maybe would have taken it better. But to me, it's like, guy lost the title. I don't expect him getting the title back anytime soon. But, like, this is what you have for him, feuding with Michael Cole and Pat McAfee. I mean, like, no, I don't want to see that. I hope the majority of people don't want to see that. Everybody knows who wins that fight. But when you say, hey, it's a way for him to get a win back, I mean, I think bigger things are in the future for him, whether there's a draft or anything going on, possibly switching shows. But with this Dangerous Alliance being formed, if I'm Gunther, I want to get on the opposite show because these guys are going to be the top heels.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing I said, so okay, they want Pierce to step in. Is this the Goldberg match? Is this where, hey, you know what, you pushed us, we got to do something. So here's this old man you can kick the shit out of. Because God, I would hope that's what it is. God, I would hope that. One second, Lord, I would ask of you, please.
Would you rather have Walter or Gunther Goldberg, or since Karrion Kross kind of dropped Goldberg in his rant, would you like to see Kross and Goldberg?
Both, just to see him get his ass beat twice.
Me too.
Like, legit, because I would love to see Bill Goldberg get chopped to death by Gunther.
Me too.
And then work with Kross, who will take care of him and will be nice about it. but Cross choke him out. I hope they both choke him out. And then he retires and says, if Brett's still got a problem with me, that's on him for the next 20 years. Like, if that's where this goes, I am for it. I am with it. But, God, I don't know what else they're going to do.
I did like Braun joining Heyman. I think I'd like it better if Braun was just with Heyman and not Rollins involved. I mean, it's going to be great for Braun. Don't get me wrong, but I think I'd like it better if it was just Braun and Heyman.
Yeah, I mean, Seth needed it, man.
No, I understand why they did it for sure.
Like, if you're saying what they tried to do with Curtis Axel and Ryback, and then that went to shits because, reasons, it'll work. It'll be freaking awesome. We'll talk about it for another year and a half. I will say the thing with Paul too, not only did Seth need it, I think Paul needed it too, but I think too, this is a very important time for Heyman because, okay, you go with Roman and it works. You go with Punk and it works. This has to work, and it's going to. I would hope, I knock on wood, that this thing with Seth and Braun works. But the thing is, what happens after? What's the next thing? And you hope it's, the next guy, whoever the next guy is, that's who Paul can maybe go with or whatever. But what if there's not? What if there's just nothing? Do you try to go to old reliable and put him with a Punk, a Roman, or whatever? I don't know. So I think this is a crucial time in his career as well.
I don't disagree. And for the most part, with little exception, Ryback, Paul Heyman can make anything work. He can work with anybody and make them a star, in my opinion.
Curtis Axel should have been, and then they buried him day one with Triple H. That's all it comes down to. They could have done that 1,000% better. The guy, people will say, well, he was not a WrestleMania eventer. You know what? He was a solid heel with Paul, and then they stripped it away 2 minutes in. And then he gets that reaction towards Mania 31 and everyone's Axel Mania, this and that. And they should have pulled the trigger there to make him a big ass baby face on the mid card, design it to go to the to the moon. But they're like, nah, we're good. I don't understand it. I'll never understand that. These guys that are in the position now with Paul are in way better positions than Curtis was, than obviously Ryback was as well. Right. These guys are more established than they ever could imagine. That's why it's going to work. But I think that's why I think he's got to get at least one guy from NXT to further, Ethan Page is established down there, but on the main roster, I think he's going to need something. I think that Paul would be perfect to compare with him,
For sure.
Are you as excited for SmackDown after Raw?
Oh, absolutely. I think that it's just as exciting. You get allegedly some Aleister guy back this week, if that's to be, whatever. You get, I would assume, a Cody promo. I'm gonna guess. I'm sorry I let you down, kind of crap.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna go away for a bit or set up his next feud. I do think absence makes the heart grow fonder. So Cody could just go away for a little bit, come back, and do his thing. You get the TLC match, which is going to be a freaking awesome match.
Gonna be fun.
I think there's returns, 1,000% returns. I think there's some call-ups. I would be surprised not to see Trick Williams get called up and put on SmackDown. And then I know there was a name, Lola Vice. I'd be very surprised. I don't think she's ready in that spot, and I think that would just kill her. I think they got to do more with her in NXT. You know, I don't see it. I don't see her as a main roster player yet. But Blair Davenport wasn't a main roster player at that point, and well, she's not in the company anymore, so that lasted
right
0 times. So yeah,
they swung and missed on that one.
Yeah, so I think anybody who saw Raw and thinks Saturday, Friday can't top that, I think it can match that and maybe pass it. Maybe.
Absolutely. Well, Jason, this has been a fantastic conversation. Appreciate you coming on. Want to give you a chance. We're coming off a big month in the world of wrestling. You've got a big month coming up here in May for APW.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, we're back in full swing. Come May. We got May 10th, Floral Hall. I'll be in action. I'll be wrestling in a 6-man tag. It's absolute anarchy. It is myself, Justin Decent, and the Death Dealer taking on Anthony Draven, Victor Payne, Damon Dillinger. Control versus career. If Draven and his band of misfits win, they get control of Absolute Pro Wrestling. When my team wins, Draven's going to retire. It's going to happen. We're putting an end to his charade. Then you get to May 17th, biggest main event in the history of Absolute Pro Wrestling. People could say it was our match the week before, but I think in this aspect, it's definitely this matchup. It's Aaron Von Baron defending that heavyweight championship against Brandon the Shank Eubanks in Brandon's hometown, in front of his people. He hasn't won the big one yet. It's a chance for him to do that and take down a guy who's been a champion for almost a year now. It's a very big moment for both gentlemen, career-defining moment for both gentlemen. I can't wait to see how it plays out. And then May 31st, Brawl at the Hall 2. Jackson King's on hand. He's got some business with the Free World to finish, it sounds like. He'll be there. Ricky Bronson will be there. Leo Santel, AJ O'Callahan, bunch of hometown guys. Got some new partners we're working with. Grizzly Clean, they're a proud title sponsor. Glad to have them cleaning and detailing cars. They're going to be helping us clean up shop with Absolute Pro Wrestling Brawl at the Hall number 2. So that's May 31st. Get your tickets now. They're going. They're selling. You want to get them before they're gone.
And I'll just say that May 17th, that is a busy weekend in Iowa for pro wrestling. You've got SCW having a show. You've got CEW having a show. And, of course, APW. I will be in Waterloo, and you and I are going to tag team on a podcast party.
Yeah. Wizard Man says, hey, I don't know if I can do it. I need a partner. I need a partner in crime. And I need someone who is good enough to do it, who I think is valuable enough to do it, who I think can talk for an hour or two and just rant and rave. And I said, what about Takis? And you said, I'd take Takis. I said, he's not available, so you get me. And you said, can we have Takis? But you're stuck with me. It's going to be a good time. I can't wait.
I'm excited. I'm super excited. Any final thoughts on this weekend as a whole, gentlemen?
Hey, it matters, right? If we're here, talking nearly 2 hours about it and complaining about it, giving it credit, it's fun, man. It's great. I'm excited because like WrestleMania is a culmination of things. It's also the start of the next years of storylines and stuff. So just really excited right now. I mean, yeah, we kind of panned Mania, but Raw gave me some confidence, and SmackDown's going to as well. And I'm sure Backlash and everything that follows is going to be watchable, and we'll love it.
No off season, just drinks and Jesus. That's all we need to get
There's
through.
a T-shirt right there for you, Prentice.
Drinks and Jesus.
No off season, drinks and Jesus.
Season. That's what we're doing here. Cars up to change. I appreciate you guys' time as always.
Absolutely.
And we appreciate you coming on. We really do. We love chopping it up with you. I won't be at the May event due to my son's graduation, but looking forward to
Tell him to fail. Tell him to fail. Tell him, hey.
No way, man. He's got senioritis slipping in, man. He's sneaking in. He wants to get out.
Tell him just like Cody. One more year.
One more year.
Finish your story. Finish your story next year, son. Trust me. The payoff is great. People will love it.
But no, excited. I'm excited to see what happens here in the coming weeks. Also very excited about WWE acquiring AAA and this Worlds Collide pay-per-view they're going to do on the same day as Money in the Bank.
Double shot's huge.
Sign me up,
that's gonna
please.
be awesome.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
But just like a exciting, hopeful time in wrestling right now.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, that is going to put a bow on this talk of WrestleMania weekend. Thanks again to Jason Prentice for joining us here on Card Subject to Change. For my tag team partner, Never Wrong Nick Bull, I am the Wizard CZ. We are the podcast by the fans, for the fans, Card Subject to Change, powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook, Country Financial. We're back at our normal time this Sunday at 6:30, so we will see you then. Thank you for tuning in.
This has been a For Frequency's Sake Podcast Network production. For more great content, subscribe to For Frequency's Sake on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.